Hello everyone, I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Welcome to The Takeout. The current Texas Constitution was adopted in 1876. It was the seventh version of a Texas Constitution and has proven to be by far the most durable. That Constitution required the presence of 2/3 of the lawmakers in the House and Senate to pass legislation, a much higher bar than the simple majority required in the federal and most other state constitutions. Texas still holds onto that high bar, which is why we have another showdown over attendance and a kind of fancy word called quorum. And it's about the state of play that many voters across the country will face as midterm elections beckon. More on that in a second. See, Texas Democrats have bugged out, leaving the legislature without enough lawmakers to function, leaving it without there's that fancy word, quorum. Texas lawmakers have gone AWOL before. The first time was in 1870, when 13 senators walked out of the Capitol to prevent the governor from obtaining the power to declare martial law. Those lawmakers were arrested, and eventually the bill passed. Democrats bolted in 2003 and 2021 over redistricting, gaining headlines, some fundraising dollars, but not much else. Why? Because Texas governors can call any number of special sessions. Leaving the state only delays the inevitable. Plus, it's costly and exposes fleeing lawmakers to charges of dereliction of duty. That built-in futility remains a strategic problem for Texas Democrats. What's different this time is other states, New York, California, and Illinois, may do as Texas is trying to do, redraw congressional maps for purely partisan gain. President Trump wants Texas Republicans to draw a map sure to yield 5 more Republicans in Congress. Partisan fury over that may well spell into those blue states I just mentioned, where solidarity with outnumbered and beleaguered Texas Democrats runs high. And partisan advantages in those states may allow the breaking of norms and the hasty redrawing of congressional maps. Here in Washington, important Trump-backed legislation passes by 1 or 2 votes. That means the eventual shape of these district lines and maps will cast a vast and powerful shadow over who wins what, who controls what, after next year's midterms. For the latest, we turn to Ed O'Keefe, not in the heart of Texas, but in St. Charles, Illinois. Ed, take it away.
Major, we're about an hour west of Chicago, where 51 members of the Democratic caucus in the Texas State House have hunkered down, vowing to be here for the next 2 weeks until the end of the currently scheduled legislative special session, robbing that chamber of what you called there, that fancy word, a quorum, to try to force Governor Abbott to drop the issue of redrawing the state's congressional map and focus just on other issues like relief for Hill Country after those deadly floods and related issues that were set to be debated. We talked with 3 of those Texas Democrats who've come here to Illinois today, John Busey, Ann Thompson, and James Tallarico. We got their take on why it is they're here, why it is they think this time's a little different. Take a listen. Bottom line it for us, why are you here?
Greg Abbott is prioritizing Donald Trump with this special session. Instead of taking action to help the flood victims of Central Texas, he is prioritizing trying to steal 5 congressional seats from the people of Texas. This isn't just a Texas fight. This is an American fight that will impact all of us. So Texas Democrats ran into the fight by coming to Illinois to stand up for the people of our state.
Representative Johnson, he says you're running into the fight. You know that Republicans in the state, Republicans out of the state, look at what you guys are doing and thinking you're running away from the fight. You're running away from your jobs by not being in Austin today.
Yeah, no. Abandoning your job is going to Cancun in the middle of a deadly freeze, right? Abandoning your job is cutting health care when people need access. Abandoning your job is cutting public education when we already have one of the worst education systems in the nation. What we are doing is the fundamental protection by our founding fathers in the Texas Constitution that says the minority party has the opportunity to break quorum when you know that the majority has really gone off the rails. The fact that Texas Republicans are willing to sell their soul, sell out their state, and sell out the American people to serve the interest of Donald Trump.
Y'all have done this before, and ultimately after a few weeks it ends, everyone goes back to Austin, and Republicans ultimately get what they want. How is this time going to be any different?
I actually disagree with that. In 2021, my colleagues here and I broke quorum to stop a voter suppression bill. And by breaking quorum and shining a spotlight, a national spotlight, on that voter suppression effort, it pressured the Republicans in Texas to take out the worst parts of that bill, the ban on souls to the polls, Sunday morning voting, which African-American churches use in Texas to get their people to the polls, a provision that would have allowed Republicans to overturn election results that they didn't like. All of that was taken out because we broke quorum. So this is an effective tool in our toolbox to fight for our constituents and make harmful legislation less dangerous. We're hopeful that's what will happen here.
So then is the end goal, if not to completely redraw the map, to redraw it in a less Republican way?
Well, I think our goal is to pressure blue states who have a Democratic trifecta to threaten retaliation and maybe even move forward with that retaliation. Because if one side is going to cheat, all bets are off. And maybe that kind of pressure will convince our Republican colleagues and the president to walk back from the brink, because none of us want gerrymandered states.
So again, these Democrats vow to be here for about 2 weeks until the end of that special session. Top Republicans in Texas now threatening them with what's called a civil arrest. In essence, try to get them back to Texas. They're refusing to go, so the standoff will continue. Quickly, Major, what makes this also different from the last few times, Democrats tell me, they're raising a lot more money and scoring a lot more attention across the country for this, as those other states consider if they can match what Texas is doing, or at least threaten to do it as well, and maybe get Republicans in Texas to back off.
On the scene for us in St. Charles, Illinois, Ed O'Keefe, thank you.